And good evening. My name is Frances Simmons, and I'm the Learner Success Advisor here at California Southern University. And welcome to the Wednesday evening Introduction to APA Style webinar. Thank you so much for taking your Wednesday evening with me and sharing this time with me. I'll be very cognizant of the time that we're spending. So tonight we're going to take a look at Introduction to APA Style. There's a lot to APA Style. There's a big manual on it. I recommend getting it. However, the way that it's organized for me was confusing. So what I tried to do is create this webinar to at least identify some concepts from the beginning. Here's what you start with, here's where you go next, here's where you go next, and here's where you go next. So we're going to review the parts of the APA style paper this evening. We're going to take a look at the title page, which is what I'm showing on the screen now. We're going to take a look at the content pages and how to format them. We're going to take a look at the last page or pages of your document, which is called the reference pages. We're going to take a look at how those should look and be formatted. And then I'm also going to demonstrate something called reference point software. Uh, it's a piece of software that you can purchase from an external website. Cal Southern has nothing to do with it, but we do like it. We do recommend it. And it is a really nice way to create the APA style paper and to store your references. So without further ado, wow, great attendance this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll go ahead and get started. For the majority of you, it seems to me that you have your microphones muted. You're welcome to mute them or unmute them if you have questions. If I hear any kind of background noise, I'll go ahead and mute them. But for so far, I think it's all really nice and quiet. And again, for those of you who have just joined me, I am recording tonight's session for you if you need to look at it later, and also for anybody who didn't get a chance to make it this evening. So thanks for joining me. I'll go ahead and get started. So APA stands for the American Psychological Association, as many of you might know. And the idea is really the idea behind this style was for the purposes of sharing. The idea is that research is shared and that the structure will enable everyone reading the writing to be able to understand its structure. So that's why the APA style came about. It came about as a reasoning for sharing research. So all of our assignments here. So when you log into your Cal Southern Learning Center, you're going to see assignments labeled discussion forum or coursework. The discussion forum assignments are those where you log into an area where everyone else in the class can see it and upload your contribution to the discussion of the week. The coursework assignments, those are papers that you'll write, and they need to be in this APA style. So to that end, we're creating a scholarly work, so we're going to be reviewing that APA style this evening. When you are creating your coursework assignments, I've been asked to have you keep in mind, it's okay that all of this information is created in your own words. So what you can do as you're reading your coursework textbooks or external journals to paraphrase the information and put them in your own words. You can blend them with your professional and practical experiences together with readings and create your coursework assignments. Whenever you are paraphrasing information, you do want to cite your source. And also, whenever you're quoting your information, you want to cite it as well. Those are called in-text citations, and we'll cover what those should look like this evening. As well as, at the end of your paper, you have a list of what's called references. The references are the sources that you use to create your paper, typically the textbook and sometimes journal articles and so on. What I'm going to bring up on the screen for you right now is what the online learning library looks like. We have a fantastic Cal Southern online library that will help you find articles, journal guides, ebooks, videos, newspapers, and so on. We have a fantastic librarian in Dr. Bernadette Chanetza, and if you have any questions or need help with the library, simply click on Ask a Librarian or Contact, and you can ask her direct questions. When you are looking for journal articles in our library, for example, when a journal article comes up, there's pieces of information that you'll need to gather from that article so that you can put that information in the reference page of your paper. So we'll be taking a look at that this evening. I would like to point out one thing that we have paid the site license for in our library. It's called the APA Style Guide to Electronic References. So when you click on Library Services from your Cal Southern Learning Center and you go to the citation column, If you click on APA style electronic references, Cal Southern has paid the site license for this manual so you can download it to your computer. It's a PDF file, and all you have to do is click on it and download it and save it to your computer. What it does is it helps you create the in-text citations and references for online electronic resources like websites, journal articles, books, videos, apps, podcasts, blog posts, and so on. There's 70 different examples that show you how the in-text citation should look and how the reference should appear on your reference page. So please download that when you get a chance. I am also your APA answer woman here too as well. So if you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to help you there. Let me get to, so I have a sample paper that I'm going to preview for just a moment, and then we're going to start from a blank, empty page so that you can see where everything goes and how it got there. What we're looking at right now is a template from Microsoft Word. You can access it by clicking on File to New. It's in either the featured or the personal area. It's called the APA style report. And what I did is I opened up that report and I removed all the extra pages. In a typical coursework assignment, you're going to want something called a title page. What we're looking up on the screen right now is the title page, where you type the title of your paper, your first and last name, and the name of the university. We'll talk about those other 3 lines in just a moment. The next page of your paper is where your paper begins. You type the title of the paper again. In the coursework assignment, you always want to be sure to have a title page. You always want to be sure you have content pages, and then the last page of your paper should be the references page. So we'll go ahead and hide this. If you need to communicate with me after the webinar, I can be reached at 714-882-7849, or my email address is fsimmons@calsouthern.edu. I'm going to go ahead and click on File in the menu bar, and I'm going to click on New, and I'm just going to take a blank, plain, empty document and show you where everything should go on the paper. So in a blank, plain, empty document, when Microsoft Word opens up, it opens up with the font called Calibri and the size called 11. So the first thing you want to do is change the font to Times New Roman, and you want to change the size to 12 points in size. The entire paper should be formatted in the font called Times New Roman and the size called 12. In addition, we want to go to the page layout area, and I want to go to margins, and you want to be sure that your margins are set for 1 inch at the top and bottom and left and right side of the page. So you make sure that your page layout margins is set for normal. I'm going to go back into Home now, and I'm going to access what's called the paragraph settings. And I'm going to click on this little box here to the right of paragraph. On a Macintosh, you might have something called Format Paragraph, or I believe Insert Paragraph Settings, Insert Paragraph. But on the PC, it's typically here under the Paragraph Settings area. So I'm going to open that up. This title page will be centered, but your content pages will more than likely be center aligned. I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to mute a couple of microphones, but if at any point in time, if you have a question, please feel free to unmute your mic and ask away. Just wanted to eliminate any background noise. So as we notice from our paragraph settings dialog box, when I open it up, the alignment is automatically set up to left. On this title page, we want everything to be center aligned. So I'm going to make that choice first of all. On the title page, I don't need any indentations. So I'm going to leave the left and right set to 0 and the special set to none, because we will be making this setting in just a moment. And then lastly, the line spacing for my entire paper should be set to double spacing. So I'm going to come to multiple here and choose double. Another thing that Microsoft Word does is it changes the spacing after to 8 points in size. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 0. So our alignment for the title page is centered. We don't have any indentations, and our spacing is set for double with no additional spacing before or after the paragraph. And I'm going to click OK. So if you can see now in the center of my first page, I have a blinking insertion point, which is where the text goes. I'm going to press my enter key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will put me at about center vertically. I'm already centered horizontally through the center alignment. So now I'm centered horizontally and almost vertically, and that's good enough. So the first thing that I want to type is the name of my paper. The name of my paper can be the name of your assignment. For example, in the School of Business, we have a paper called Case Analysis. In the School of Behavioral Studies, we have some called Vignette Analysis. In all the schools, we have them called Essay. So if this is Essay 1, you can call the paper and the assignment Essay 1. So just for the example of this one, I'm going to call this assignment Vignette Analysis, and I'm going to call it Roman numeral 1. So the way to get a Roman numeral 1 is to simply type a capital I. So I'm going to type a capital I here. And now I have the title of my paper. You will have times, however, in your assignments where you have something called a final paper. And the final paper will be the topic of your choosing. So in that instance, the title of the paper isn't called final paper. It's called whatever the topic of your paper is about. Maybe it's called the history of Apple Computer. Then that would be the title of your paper. But in this case, the title of the assignment is called Vignette Analysis 1, and we're going to let the title be centered right here on the title page. I'm going to press my enter key. The next thing you want to type is your first and last name. I'll go ahead and type mine in here just for example. And then the third line that you want to type, this is required by APA style, is the name of the university. So I'm going to type California Southern University, and then hit enter. So these are the required 3 lines for any APA style publication type paper. For Cal Southern University, we ask that you type 3 more lines of text. It's not required, but recommended, and it will help you keep better track of all of your assignments. So the next thing I'm going to type is the name of my course. I'm going to say that I'm in PSY 87500. I'm going to type the date of my paper, which today is September 6th, and I didn't spell September right. That's okay. I'm going to keep going. And the year is 2017. I can right click on anything I've misspelled, and good old Word will give me a suggestion. So I'm going to click on that one. And then the last line of my paper can be the name of my professor. I'm going to say it's Dr. Barbara Grimes. So again, these last 3 lines are not required. They are recommended. They will help you keep track of everything. But the first 3 lines are definitely required and recommended. The title of the paper, your first and last name, the name of the university, and the additional 3 lines that you're able to use are course, date, and professor name. So I'm almost done with my title page here. I'm going to go ahead and so when I opened up a blank document within Microsoft Word, it only gave me 1 page. So I'm going to press my enter key a couple times. I'm going to choose Insert, Page Break, and that'll give me an entirely new page, technically page 2. And because I was centered on my title page, I'm now centered at the top of this secondary page as well. So what should be here is, again, the title of my paper. We're calling this Vignette Analysis 1. So I'm going to type that and a capital I. So the title of my paper goes centered on my title page and centered, not bolded, at the top of my page 2. I'm going to press the enter key. I'm going to go back to the Home tab. I'm going to open up my paragraph settings again, and I want to tell now Microsoft Word, okay, here's how the rest of these paragraphs are going to be formatted. So the first choice I want for alignment is called left aligned. Your paragraphs in your content pages are to be left aligned. There is one indentation that should appear at the beginning of every paragraph. It's called a special first line, and it should be at 1/2 inch. You can press the tab key 1 time, or you can press the space bar 5 times. Both of those are correct styles. However, it's easier if you set up this special first line indentation. So now after you type a paragraph, when you get to the end of the paragraph, hit enter, and it'll automatically wrap down to the next line and indent. So it's a really nice way to have some automatic features happening for you while you're creating your paper. And then finally, I'm just going to do a quick check to make sure that I'm still double spaced and I have no additional lines of space before or after the paragraph. And I'm going to click OK. And so now I can begin the vignette. And then I can just go ahead and keep typing what's happening in my paper or what I'm responding to. I'm going to go back to the title page because there's something I want to add before we go any further. It's called the running head. APA Style has a requirement of the running head. What Microsoft Word does is the first 1 inch of every paper is called the header, and the bottom 1 inch is called the footer. In the header, to type in it or edit it, you simply move your pointer to the top and double click. It will automatically open up what's called the header feature. You'll see a little gray box here that says header. Before we begin typing, we need to tell Microsoft Word, oh, by the way, the first page header is going to be different than all the remaining page headers. So I'm going to go up to the options area and check the box that says different first page. What that means is whatever I type on my title page for the header will be just a little bit different than what appears on all of the remaining headers. What I'm going to type on my first page header are the words running head, but before I type, I want to click on home and I want to make sure that I'm using the Times New Roman 12-point font because as you notice it defaulted back to Calibri 11 and all of the paper should be Times New Roman 12. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera now. Hopefully you can still hear me and see my paper. I'm going to go ahead and type the words running and head on the top and a colon. And then my running head is to be all capital letters, 50 characters or less, abbreviated title of the paper. That's the APA rule. 50 characters or less, all caps. So I'm going to hit my cap lock key and I'm going to type in vignette, analysis, and a capital I. Because the entire name of the paper is less than 50 characters, I can type it all out here. But if the title of your paper is longer than 50 characters, including spaces, then you want to abbreviate the title. That's the rule there for APA Style. I'm going to press my Tab key once and twice, and now I'm at the far right side of my first page header. In my header and footer tools, I have an icon that will automatically insert the page number. Microsoft Word has a feature called pagination, and Microsoft Word knows what page it's on. So I'm just going to click page number, current position, plain number, and it will drop in the number 1 because it knows what page it's on. I'm now going to scroll down to the header for page 2, and I need to put in the title again and the page number, and then it will show up on every remaining page. So my cap locks are still on. I'm going to type in vignette, analysis, and a capital I for Roman numeral 1. I'm going to tab over and I'm going to insert page number, current position, plain number. Now, what I didn't do before I typed this was to make sure I'm using Times New Roman 12-point font. So I simply highlight the whole thing, click on home, type Times New Roman 12. I want to be sure that I'm using double spacing because again, the entire paper is double spaced. And now when I scroll back up, my running head for pages 1 and pages 2 are correct. They're Times New Roman 12-point font double spaced. On the title page only, I have the words running head with the title of the paper in all capital letters and the page number at the right. For every remaining page of my paper, I have the title of the paper in all caps at the left and the page number at the right. To get out of this header footer feature, I can click this red box with the white X, or I can simply double click in the paper, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to double click in my title page, and now you'll see this is kind of in a light gray or gray shade, and my header, my running head feature is finished. So when I come down to, let's say, the vignette analysis, I'm going to press my enter key a couple times, and I'm going to give myself a new page by choosing insert page break. And you'll see that for this next page, it automatically entered in the title of the paper, and the page number. It will continue to do that for all of my remaining pages. And the reason why it's doing that is because I created it on page 2. And then I created a different running head for the title page to include the words running head. So those are some of the, again, basic features of the APA style paper. I have my title page. I have my content pages. The first page of my content pages has my title centered, not bolded, and my paper begins with a paragraph formatting of first line, no additional spacing, double spaced. The last page of my paper is to be called references. So I'm going to come back up to the paragraph settings, pardon me. I'm going to change my alignment to centered, and I'm going to remove the special indentation. And again, I still have double spacing, and I'm going to click OK. I want to type the word references at the top of the last page of my paper. Centered, not bolded, Times New Roman 12-point font, double spacing. I'm going to press my Enter key, and now I have to set up the paragraph settings for this page. The paragraph settings for my references page are different than the paragraph settings for my content pages. So I'm going to come back up to paragraph settings. I'm going to choose left aligned, and this time my special indentation is called hanging, and it is set up for a 1/2 inch double spaced. A hanging indent means that the first line of my text will be flush to the left margin, and all of the remaining lines of that paragraph will be indented a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to type a sample here of what will appear on the reference page, and then we'll take a look at citations and references. So what goes on the last page of my paper is called the references. All references have 4 parts. Part number 1 is the author of the source that I'm using. Part number 2 is the year of publication. Part number 3 is the title. And part number 4 is the source information. So again, the 4 parts to every reference are author, year, title, source information. Now, sometimes your books or journal articles or websites are going to have one author, and sometimes they're going to have anywhere up to maybe 12 authors. On the reference page, there's a rule for listing, but and I'll bring that up in a minute. But just for sake of this example, we're going to use a book with one author, and I'm just going to make it up. So the first part to a reference is the author. When you type the author of a book, for example, you begin with their last name and you type their last name and any initials they might have. So I'm going to begin with, we'll see that the author of this book is last name is Corey, comma, space, and his first initial, his name's Gerald, so we're going to say G, period. So when I have just one author, I type last name, comma, first initial, period. If I have multiple authors, I type a comma, and I list the other authors as well. Comma, space, we'll say S, period. And if I have the last author, I type an and sign. That's shift 7 before the last author. And then I type that one too. There is a book by a bunch of Coreys here, so we'll just say it's that. Okay, period. So this particular book had 3 authors. I'm going to go ahead. I typed a period and a space. And now I want to type the year of publication of the book. We'll say it's 2017, period. So first 2 parts of the the first 2 parts of the reference are author and year of publication. The next thing I'm going to type is, we're going to, again, for sake of this example here, we'll say this is the name of a book. When I type the name of the book, I need to remember 2 things. Number 1, it should be italicized. And number 2, it's typed in sentence case. Sentence case means the first letter of the first word is capitalized. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the italics icon, and we're going to say that the name of this book is called All About Psychotherapy. Now, before I type a period, the next thing that APA Style wants from me is the addition of the book. Also, let's say the book has a colon in the title or a journal article. I would type a colon, and then I capitalize the first letter of the first word after the colon. If you have any proper nouns, names of cities, those would all be capitalized as well. So again, when I type the title of a book, it's typed in, excuse me, italics. The first letter of the first word is capitalized, any proper nouns are capitalized, and the first letter of the word after a colon would be capitalized. So now I'm going to turn off the italicization, the italics icon there. Sorry, okay. And then I'm going to type the edition of the book. So in parentheses, I type a parentheses. We'll say this is the 12th, TH, space, small e, small d, period, parentheses, period. So this tells the reader of my book that this is the 12th edition of the book. Typically, when you open up the jacket of the book, you'll see what edition that it is, or if you're getting a book online, the third or fourth page should show you the edition as well. If you're seeing no edition, and you're looking on the inside jacket of the book, sometimes it'll say first printing. That simply means it's a first edition. You can put one STED, or you can leave it off if it's a first edition. If it's an only edition, you can leave it off as well. But if you know that it's a second through remaining editions, you want to type the edition in. So APA required. The last piece of a reference for a book is called the source information. So here's author, year, title, and source. The source information for a textbook is the city, state, and publishing company of the book. So we'll say that this book was published in Hoboken, comma, capital NJ for New Jersey, colon, and we'll say the publishing company is John Wiley and Sons, comma, Inc. I'm going to capitalize that there. Okay, so as you noticed, I kept typing. It wrapped down to the second line, and when it wrapped down to the second line, it automatically indented. This is what's called a hanging indent. So when I type information, let's say, for a book, I do author, year, title in italics, edition in parentheses, city, state, and publishing company. So this is how the reference would look for that particular book. I'm going to hit my enter key, and if you hit your enter key, what you'll notice is the paragraph settings will remain. If you hit your backspace key and move out and come back into it, it may remove that hanging indent. So you just want to be sure that you go to your paragraph settings and create these settings. You do want to list all of your references in alphabetical order by the last name of the reference. Now I'm going to go over some different kinds of references in just a minute, but let me go back into my paper. Let's say that I've created the first paragraph of my paper. I've explained a situation, let's say for the vignette, that I'm counseling a couple, and I've explained the situation, and I've suggested some therapy solutions that showed up in the book. So I paraphrased that therapy solution, and at the end of that paraphrasing, I'm going to type a parentheses, and when I do an in-text citation for the book, I only type the last names of the authors. I don't need any initials here. And if I'm paraphrasing, I only need the author and year in the in-text citation. So this in-text citation tells the reader of my paper, I read this, I put this in my own words, and I paraphrased it. If I chose to create a quote from that book, I would type a quotation mark. I would begin the quote. When I end the quote, I type a quotation mark, a space, and then in my in-text citation after the year, I'm going to type a comma, space, P for page number, and we'll say my quote came from page 25 from that book. So this tells the reader of my paper, okay, here's the book, here's all the information for the book, and here's the page I got it from. I received the quote from, or grabbed the quote from. So this is called an in-text citation for a quotation, and this is called an in-text citation for paraphrasing. Okay, so in most of your paragraphs, you're going to have some kind of an in-text citation, be it paraphrasing or quoting, that tells the reader, I got this information from there. So So those are some of the elementary basics of the paper. We have a title page with the name of the paper, your first and last name, and the name of the university required. You can add the course number, date, and professor. You have a running head with the title of your paper in all caps and the page number at the right. On all of your content pages, you have the title of the paper and the page number at the right. On the first content page, you have the name of the assignment centered, not bolded. You have all of your paragraphs in your paper formatted for first line indentation, double spaced. And on the last page of your paper, you have the word references, centered, not bolded, and all of your references are formatted for hanging indent. All right. What I have created is a document called Sample Citations. I'm just demonstrating it a little bit here for you to show some of the differences in the types of references that you'll use and some of the APA rules that go with them. So we've already taken a look at what a book looks like in the APA style when citing. So this particular paper I've shown you a sample citation for a book with 3 authors. I have a sample citation for a journal article, an edited book, which you'll see quite often in some of your courses, motion picture, and so on. I've created some samples here. So there are rules for multiple authors, okay, through APA style. So I created this chart that says that if you have from 3 to 5 authors, the first time you cite them, you list all 3, and all the remaining times you can use a citation called an et al. Citation. Et al. Is Latin for and everyone else. So if I have from 3 to 5 authors, I need to list all 3 the first time, and then et al. All my remaining times. If I have 6 or more authors, I can use that et al. Every time. On the reference page, if I have from 1 to 5 authors, I'm going to list every author. Where the rule changes is if I have 7 or more authors. So let's say, for example, you've come across a journal article that has 12 authors. In your paper, you're going to say et al. Every time. You're going to list just the first author. On your reference page for 12 authors, you're going to list the first 7. You're going to type a comma. You're going to type 3 periods, which is called an ellipsis, and then you'll type all the information for the 12th author, and then you'll put all the remaining information that's required. So this is a new requirement of the APA 6th edition published in 2010. I've created this PDF chart here, so at any point in time this evening, if you want me to send you copies of all these documents I'm showing, please, at the end of the webinar, email me at fsimmons@calsouthern.edu. Let me go back there, fsimmons@calsouthern.edu, and I'll be so happy to send those copies to you. So feel free to email me when we're all done or now and say, send me the copies of everything. So I have this sample paper here with text in it that you can type over the top of. We have multiple authors. I have sample citations. Let me go into the journal article for just a moment because we've kind of covered what a book should look like. And then I'll move on to demonstrating reference point software. So let's say you've gone into our great library, you found a journal article, it has the information that you want out of it, and you've created a paragraph or 2 or 3 or 4 that have summarized that information or paraphrased that information. Let's say this is the journal article that you used. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 authors. So we typed a paragraph that explained the information from the journal article, and at the end of the paragraph, we typed only the last names of the 5 authors and the year of publication of the book, of the journal article. So that means that I've paraphrased the information. If I had quoted, I'd put a quote at the front, a quote mark at the end of the quote, and after the year of publication of the journal, I type a comma, space, period, and I can see down here the range of pages is 296 to 316, so we'll say my quote came from page 300. When you type the representative of the page, you type a single P, a period, and you put the page number. If your quote comes from a range of pages, it's 2 small p's and a period. and then the range of pages the quote comes from. So this is called an in-text citation. That is a quotation. And then on my reference page, this is 5 authors, so I list them all. This is the year of publication of the journal article. This is the name of the journal article. It's typed in sentence case, just like the book title, but it's not typed in italics. What is typed in italics is the name of the journal. This is called the volume. This is the issue. And these are the page numbers that the journal article printed on. The last piece of information that you should be typing on your reference page is something called the DOI. This is a new requirement of APA style. The DOI is called the Digital Object Identifier Formatting. Typically, it's a series of letters and numbers that's created by the DOI Foundation and publishers, and it's meant to identify electronic content. Again, I can send you this document. It's from an APA style blog. It explains a bit more about what the DOI is. Now, I'm going to bring up, let's see if I can grab all my screens here. So I'm going to go to Google, www.google. You can use Google Scholar for this as well, but I'm going to go back into this article, and let me go ahead and just copy the name of this article. Okay, copy. So you got the journal article out of the library, you read the journal article, and hopefully you found the DOI. If you didn't find the DOI, if the DOI wasn't available, then what APA wants you to type in here is retrieved from, and the entire web address where a reader can find that article. Now, if you copy in the entire web address of the school library, an external reader won't be able to get into our library. So that's when I go to Google, I paste the name of the journal article in Google, I hit enter, and this is where your reader can go find the article. Now, maybe they have to pay for it, but again, that's their choice. But just to let you know, this is where they can find it. So I can come up here, I do Control C to copy the exact web address, and I go into my paper and I do Control V. So this tells the reader of my paper, if you want to take a look at this article yourself, you can get it from there. Now, one of the things I noticed when I was on this website is this particular website gave me the volume information, the issue, and it had all the information I needed, authors, title. And if you click Cite, it is giving us the DOI number right here that we can copy and paste. Now, let me tell you, I want to say 7 times out of 10, the site information is not correct, meaning if you choose APA, it'll show you something it's not quite correct. So it's better to learn the correct method and then you can type it yourself. But the advantage here is, here's the information that I need so that I can type it myself. So for a journal article, I'm going to type the last name and first initials of my authors, the title of my journal article, the name of the journal, the volume, the issue, the page numbers, and the DOI. So I can get all the information off of there. And in my paper, it's going to look like this. The title is typed in sentence case. The journal's italicized, the volume's italicized, the issue is not, the pages are not, and then the retrieve from information is here. So just a little tip there if you cannot find the DOI. More and more, you're going to see the DOI information with the journal article that you get. So that's just a caveat that appears with journal articles. So we've got a sample book here. We have a journal article, an edited book. You'll find that in some of our larger textbooks with lots of information in it, that you're gonna find the when you list an edited book, you first list the authors of the chapter, the year of publication of the book, the title of the chapter. You're going to type in and the names of all the editors of the book, the title of the books in italics, the pages the chapter appeared on in the book, and a city, state, and publishing company. So it's going to end up looking like this. So I'm happy to send you these samples. Okay, this is called sample citations. So again, if you want that, please feel free to email it. And again, remember that this document from APA Style that's sitting in our library will help you format how they should look, how a reference should look. So let's see. Let me go back here. Does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna demonstrate one more thing. Okay. All right. So we took a look at this sample paper that I started in the beginning. So I'm F. Simmons at calsouthern.edu, and you can reach me at 714-882-7849. I am happy to proof one paper per course for APA Style. So if you get started and you're typing away in a paper, or you've finished a paper and you want me to take a look at, please feel free to email it to me and I can take a look at it. I do need a couple of day lead time before you need to upload it. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead. There is a piece of software that you can purchase. You can buy it from www.referencepointsoftware.com. We don't own it. We're not related to them in any way, but we do kind of like it. It's fairly inexpensively. And if you go to referencepointsoftware.com, what you need to know before you purchase the software is you need to know what version of Microsoft Word that you have, and you can purchase it after that. You would just simply click on the version and click on APA template. So, all right, while I'm letting that come up, what Reference Point software does is it installs on your computer. It works together with Microsoft Word in the form of a, all right, I'm not going to wait for that, in the form of a template. So I'm going to go ahead. I have that template installed on my computer. So I'm going to click on File to New. And when I click on File to New, the template is called capital A, small p-a, 6th, capital ED. And when you click on it, it opens up the template. Now that first screen kind of goes away very quickly. You tell the software, I'm doing an APA style document, and you click OK. And then you just complete a series of screens, and it will start the paper for you and format the paper for you. So I'm going to tell the software I want a title page, I want a body of paper, what I call content page, and a reference page. And I also tell the software I want to automatically sort the references, and I want to insert the citation in the text after typing reference, and click Next. So it says running head. So I'm going to call this paper a little bit differently. I'm going to call this paper Trader Joe's Case Study, just like we did Vignette Analysis 3. I'm going to type that again, only not in caps, in the title area. And then I'm going to click Next. The first time you use the software, you'll type in your first and last name, and all remaining times it will remember it. The first time you open up the software, you'll type in California Southern University, and all subsequent times it opens, it will remember that. Again, you can do those additional lines if you want to. We'll say the course number is MGT 87500. We know the date. And we'll say the professor is Dr. John. And then we're going to click OK. And if you watch, okay, so here's what it did. It created the title page, it created the running head, it created the formatting, so that all I have to do is click in here and start the paper. Okay, so it does create this placeholder, and I'll show you how that works. So we'll say Trader Joe's was founded in, okay, so we'll say I've typed this paragraph, and we'll say that I paraphrased it from the textbook. So up here is a new menu bar command, and it's called APA. So I'm going to click on APA, and I'm going to click on book. And we'll say the name of this book was written by Schermerhorn. And we'll say his first initial is R, and we'll say his middle initial is G. And we'll say that the second author is Bach, and his initials are TS. So for as many authors as you have, you would type in, the rule is 6, and here's the last author, okay? We're going to go ahead and say okay. And so here's the author's name here. If you make any mistakes, you simply go back to here and fix them in here. And then we're going to say the name of the book is called Management. And we'll say that this is the 10th edition. We'll say it was published in 2016. Now, you only have to type this in once, and for the remaining times you're in this paper and future papers, this information will be saved. So we'll say that the book was published in New York and New York City and New York State. If you're typing another country, for example, like Quebec, Canada, you would type Quebec in here and the country in here. So city and country, but for United States, it's city and state. We'll say the publisher is McGraw Hill Irwin. And I'm going to click save. It's reminding me to save the paper. Now, we'll say that I'm at the end of the paragraph and I've paraphrased. So I would drop this one in, number 2, and click OK. Now what it did is it inserted the citation in right where I had my insertion point, and it created the reference, perfectly formatted. Now let's say I'm further down in my paper and I'm at the beginning of a paragraph and I want to quote the author. I simply come up to Insert Citation, I choose the book, I choose Cite Selected Item, and at the beginning of the paragraph I'm going to use this one here, and I'm going to tell it that I'm quoting from page 56. So I click OK. It automatically drops it in, so I can do state that, and I can put my quotation mark. But since I've already got author year and page number here, all I need to do is finish the quote. And my reference is already located at the back from here. If I want to retrieve a reference from a future paper, from a previous paper, I can do retrieve a reference, and I can grab any one of these and insert the selected reference. So it remembers all of the references I've done up to now. So this is a piece of software called Reference Point Software. You can purchase it from referencepointsoftware.com. And if you type in Cal Southern in the voucher code area, you'll be able to purchase it for $19.95 instead of $39.95. They give it to you for half off. So, all right. So we've taken a look at citations and references and the title page and the content pages and the reference page and software to help you do it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Hi, Frances. This is Sherry. I do have a question about if you're quoting something from, say, the AAMFT website, or
Okay.
Is that any different than what you showed us earlier?
Well, so websites are a little tricky. Let me see if I can find my sample citations here. So sometimes on a website, you're not going to find an author. You're just going to find the website itself. So in that instance, you might get something like this, the American Academy of Adolescent Psychiatry. You should scroll to the bottom of the web page and you should find a year down there somewhere. And then this would be the title of the web page, and you do want to insert the entire web address, retrieve from, and the entire address here. So this is what would go on your reference page. In your paper itself, you would type in American Academy of Adolescent Psychiatry, 2010, and you can put the paragraph number in the in-text citation. So you can say PARA 5. That tells the reader, if I go to this link and scroll down, I can find what she cited or quoted from paragraph 5. So that's one way to use a web page.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions? Okay, it's late, I know. All right, well, I want to thank you very much for attending this evening. Again, I can be reached at fsimmons@calsouthern.edu or 714-882-7849. Thank you so very much for
Hey,
spending your time with me
Francis,
this evening. Yes,
could I ask one more quick question?
sure, sure.
When we're working in the discussion forum and we're trying to cite examples from the text, do we just list the references at the bottom, or what is the proper format for that particular, when we're in the discussion forum with our other classmates?
Yes, it's my understanding. Yeah, I'm hearing that more and more. They want you to cite or put some sort of entry into the discussion forum. And so
Right.
if you're going to do that, I would go ahead and make it be the full reference that would be at the bottom of the reference page: authors, year, title, edition, city, state, and publishing company. And the same thing with the journal. That's my understanding. That just gets you used to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And where did you say we could find the recording for tonight?
You know what? I'm gonna hit stop recording here in a moment. Good point. In fact, let me do that. And then what I'll do is if you email me, I'll email you the link because it records in WebEx, so that's where the recording gets picked up from. Right? Any other questions? If you want me to send you the sample documents I just displayed this evening, please email me at fsimmons@calsouthern.edu. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you,
right.
Francis.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate
Yes.
your time this evening. And please call or email me if questions come up.
Thank you very much. Have a
Learned
nice
a lot.
evening.
Yeah.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.